They like this glossy, polished version. And that creates a fundamental loneliness, even though you can be dating. It's so interesting because I'll work with influencers. Like we have a creator coaching program. And like it's so hard for influencers to date because who is are you falling in love with the influencer? Are you falling in love with Diary of a CEO host? Or are you falling in love with Steven? Right? Is it Dr. K or is it Alok? So this is what's really paradoxical is that we think that forming all of these connections will help our loneliness, where oftentimes it creates the opposite effect, where now what they love is a version of me, not the real me. And now the problem is they love this polished version. What happens if I show them the ugly version? They won't accept me. I can never show it to them.
This is what I noticed in my own life. I noticed that before 25, I was a total failure with women. And before 25, the real defining characteristic of that chapter of my life was all the external stuff, like the Louis Vuitton bag, the champagne bottles in the nightclub, the really trying really, really hard to convince. And then after 25, I had much more success with women. And that chapter of my life can be characterized by knowing who I was and being cool with it. All the stuff seemed to fall away. Like all the external stuff seemed to fall away. And for some reason, because I talk to my friends who are struggling with dating at the moment about this, just to see if it can help them in any way. The chapter of my life where I was reading those books, they're like pickup artistry books, and I was trying really hard, was my most unsuccessful. But the phase after where I stopped chasing so much, the only way I can describe it is there's like 1,000 little micro things in me that changed. Whether it's my posture, the way that I don't know what it was, but for me, it's that season of insecurity and then the season of confidence. And I'm just throwing that out there because it kind of overlaps with what you were saying about the influencers. And when you're trying too hard, you're actually struggling the most today. And if you see this in your practice.
Now, hold on a second. So let's define success. So when you were doing Louis Vuitton bags and pre-25, were you going on dates?
I was going to the club every 2 times a week and ordering as much champagne as I could to get people to come to my table and to impress the girls that were at my table and stuff.
Did it work?
Well, all the girls that I wanted never wanted me back. So the 4 girls that I really pursued, I could name them, but I probably shouldn't. I could never get them to be in a relationship with me. I would have short-term success and then they would never.
There we go. So this is really important, right? So this goes back to what we were saying. Short-term success is thalamic. Right? So that's sensory perception. So you could never get into a relationship. So this is perfect, right? So let's understand. So champagne will get you to get them to come to the table. Oh, who's this?
Yeah. Bring them back to the apartment.
Right? and so you can get somewhere, but think about where you were emotionally and where they were. You were like, oh, please, 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 right? And that's not where they are emotionally. So it's doomed to failure.
Yeah.
So I was just using that because it's a prime example of, and then what happens is you're confident. So you're meeting them where they're at. You're a little bit confident. Hopefully they're a little bit confident. You form a connection. And just doing a little bit of math, it sounds like you've been dating your current girlfriend for a couple of years now. It sounds like it didn't take long from you being confident to find someone that you've been with.
Exactly.
Right?
I've been with her for almost 6 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah. Once you do it right, you kind of get locked down real quick. Right? And same thing happened with, so a couple of things. So first is this just goes back to, once again, we can take your test case with the neuroscience of how to fall in love and it maps on. And that's the beauty of science is that it's true. Now, I even forget, so you were talking about security and insecurity. So now you said something beautiful, which is 1,000 different microcosmic things in here, right? Microscopic tiny little things that you do within you.
I say that because when I read the book on how to pick up women, it would give you these little games, these little tricks you could do. And even if I did those, even if I acted, there was still something going on which meant these women didn't want to be with me. In a relationship, I could pull, quote unquote, pull them. I could get them on, short term, but I couldn't get them to be with me.